I'd like to welcome everybody to today's presentation of Integrative Behavioral Health. I'm your host, Dr. Elise Snipes, and we are talking about abundance mentality. You'll remember yesterday we were talking about happiness habits, and this sort of dovetails really nicely with happiness habits because abundance mentality can help you feel a lot happier. Abundance mentality or abundance mindset means you believe that there will always be plenty to go around. You're not worried about whether you're going to get the last roll of toilet paper. You know that there's plenty of toilet paper to go around. Scarcity mentality means that you believe that there is a finite amount of resources that everyone competes for, and this can be toilet paper, relationships, money, jobs, power, and the list goes on. When we have a scarcity mentality, it creates stress, it creates tension because we are worried that we won't get enough. We won't get the last one. When we talk about abundance and believing that there's always plenty to go around, then we're not so worried about it. We realize we may have to wait for a few minutes or do something a little bit differently, but there's always going to be plenty to meet our needs. And that's what it really comes down to. Some people talk about an abundance mentality in terms of money. And yes, money can be something that you have in abundance, but there are a lot of other things in life that can make it rich and meaningful. I know some people who are financially very modestly off, and they are quite happy. They would rather not work, 60 hours a week and be stressed about that, and instead spend time with their family. And that makes them feel like they have a rich and meaningful life that's just fully abundant. When we have a scarcity mentality, we have a sense of fierce competition and all or nothing thinking. I either get that job or I'm a failure. I either get that relationship or I'm going to be alone forever. And it's important to recognize that rarely is something that scarce. There are a few things that are scarce in life, like time. We only have a certain amount of time, but we don't know how much time we have. So expecting that we've got 40 more years or expecting that we've only got another day, we don't know how much time. So we want to live with an abundance mentality, relishing what we have in the moment. People who have a scarcity mentality also really struggle with FOMO or fear of missing out, because if you miss out, then you won't have that opportunity again. And that can be missing out on a party, that can be missing out on anything, but feeling like you have to be there for everything or you're missing out. People with a scarcity mentality tend to have persistent anger or jealousy because they're feeling threatened by what other people have, and they feel threatened by what they don't have, instead of feeling happy that other people are experiencing abundance and noticing, being mindful of the abundance that they have. Along with this can be persistent anxiety and stress-related physical issues. So we want to really consider the impact of our mindset on our mood and our relationships. And we'll talk about how it impacts the PACER dimensions in a minute. Now, for you sci-fi people out there, I did include a link to the Ferengi rules of acquisition because in large part, the Ferengi operate on a scarcity mindset. They are about money and winning and power at the expense of absolutely everything else. And an abundance mindset recognizes that yes, we need to have enough money in order to get our basic needs met, but we also recognize the other things that we have in our life that make it rich and meaningful. One of the things that I did just while I was waiting for a video to convert yesterday, I went through some of the Ferengi rules of acquisition, and I tried to convert them from what they are to an abundance mindset. So it can be a fun activity if you've got a sci-fi person in your life, or not. in terms of how an abundance mindset impacts us, and we're going to go from the positive aspect today. Physically, if we are not stressed all the time, if we are not feeling threatened, if we are not worried about where the next thing is going to come from, then we tend to have less stress. Our HPA axis is more appropriately regulated, so we don't have as much in the way of stress-related physical problems and inflammation. Our immunity is stronger, our pain tolerance is higher, our sleep is better, our energy is greater. A lot of good things happen when we can reduce our stress and we can recognize what we have in the moment. Affectively, well, when you feel better and you're more rested and more energetic, then you're likely going to be in somewhat of a better mood. And with an abundance mindset, recognizing and sort of relishing the things that you have that are abundant in your life right now can help you feel a sense of awe, wonder, appreciation, lots of different feelings, but they're generally good. Cognitively, when we have an abundance mindset, it stimulates curiosity. It stimulates us to try to figure out, okay, how can I take this and multiply it instead of how can I take this and hold it so nobody else gets it? It's how can I take this and multiply it so I can share it with the world, so I can improve, everything for everybody. It's a selfless mindset as opposed to a selfish mindset. Environmentally, when we have an abundance mindset, we recognize the beauty and the benefits and the gifts we have in our environment, and we recognize the possibilities that are out there. We may not have everything we want, most people don't, but we can recognize, we can look around and see the possibilities, and it can be very empowering. And relationally, well, if you're in a better mood and you have more energy and you're healthier and you're empowered and going from a selfless mindset, guess what? Your relationships are probably going to benefit, and you're probably going to focus, and part of a abundance mindset is focusing on nurturing those relationships to make them multipliers and help you grow your abundance, and you help them grow their abundance as well. So it's a very synergistic mindset. 25 building abundance strategies. These are not all of them, but these are some of the highlights, and I encourage you to review them each day and think to yourself, how can I do this today? And yes, it does take some time. The first month, it probably takes more time than anything. And after that, it becomes more routine, and it doesn't take as long to go through the list. But it is helpful to take a moment and really think about, what am I going to do today that is going to help me build abundance? And then in the evening, reflect and go, what did I do today that helped me build abundance? And what did I do today that may have been a relapse into my scarcity mindset? That encourages you to be more mindful and to morph or change, strengthen your abundance mindset. So, number 1, abundance grows from a sense of personal worth and security. This is the foundation here. If you don't feel like you deserve abundance, then it's going to be hard to attract abundance. It's going to be hard to attract positive energy and have the motivation to do something that is really positive, because if you don't feel worthy, then you're not going to do it. You also have to feel safe. And this is emotionally safe, physically safe, interpersonally safe. You have to feel like you have got a foundation of support in there. Maybe it's one person, maybe it's just your higher power, wherever that safety comes from, because we have to feel safe in order to step outside that comfort zone. Comfort zone implies safety, to building abundance. We need to be able to say, all right, I can always drop back to my safety zone. but let me try to step outside and build abundance. We need to develop our own self-esteem. As we're building abundance, building self-esteem goes into developing our sense of self-worth. And as you are successful, as you create mastery opportunities, you're going to feel more empowered. You're going to be able to multiply things and help others and improve, the well-being all around, which is really super awesome. And that will help you build your self-esteem even more. And you can look back on it and go, I can do this. You feel courageous. You feel empowered. You feel secure. And when you're building abundance and stepping outside of that comfort zone, sometimes you're going to fail. It happens. However, you look at failure as a learning opportunity. And when you've got good, strong self-esteem, it's easier to handle setbacks and failures and view them in terms of learning experiences and opportunities to regroup. It's important to recognize the power of your thoughts. If you are pessimistic, if you're telling yourself, well, there's no way I'm going to get this job, or there's no way I can do this, well, then guess what? You're creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. Your thoughts can really help guide you in the right direction. It's not going to change other people's behavior necessarily. But if you go into a job interview, for example, or on a date or wherever, and you have an optimistic attitude, and you believe that you deserve the job or the relationship, you believe that you can get it, that optimistic attitude is palpable. And it can change other people's perception. If they see somebody walking in who is, determined and excited and optimistic, that's somebody I want on my team, as opposed to the person who comes in and plops down and goes, okay, here's my resume. I'm here. What questions do you have? That optimistic, enthusiastic mindset goes a long way to bringing people, to attracting positivity. As a supervisor, my supervisor once told me that you want to surround yourself with people who are more abundant than you are. And he didn't say abundant, but basically that's what it boiled down to. People who had more energy, who had more creativity, who were smarter than you were, because all of those things could synergize. And it's great, instead of being intimidated by people who are smarter or more creative or more well-spoken, or, the list goes on, attracting those people and saying, what can I learn from you? How can I use your skills and your unique abilities to help us build abundance, to help us meet our organizational goals, to help us, meet these other goals? Looking at everything in terms of how can this experience, this person, this thing, this whatever, help me multiply what I've got to get closer to my goals. So optimism, we want to focus on that. When you have pessimistic thoughts, it's important to stop yourself and rephrase it in terms of optimism, which takes us down to radical acceptance and noticing the good. Like I said, sometimes you may, be on your A game and you go in and you are enthusiastic and optimistic and, all kinds of wonderful. And the person interviewing you feels intimidated because they have a lack of a sense of safety. They have a low self-esteem. They're coming from a scarcity mindset, so it may be intimidating to them. Well, if you're coming from an abundance mindset, do you want to work for somebody who has a scarcity mindset, who's intimidated, who's going to keep the lid on things and try to thwart or stifle creativity and prosperity? Well, probably not. Therefore, if you go in for that interview and it's not a good fit, okay. It's not personal. It's not a negative against you. It's you weren't a good fit for that agency for some reason. And radical acceptance and optimism can go hand in hand in an abundance mentality when you can say, you know what? All right, I think I was an awesome candidate for that job. However, if they didn't think that, if I was going to be a square peg in a round hole, then maybe that's not the best situation for me. So let me look for something else. And that's where that radical acceptance comes in, embracing the good with the bad. Didn't get the job, however, I'm still open to other opportunities. There's probably something better out there. So embracing that. Same thing in relationships, when bad things happen, it's important to step back and say, okay, well, that's not ideally how I probably would have wanted it, but it's not all about me. So where can I find the good in this? Where can I find the strength in this? And maybe the only strength that comes out of it is the fact that you learn that you are strong enough to deal with it. And you can look back later and go, wow, I am really a strong person. Cool. So you grew from that experience. Every experience is a growth experience. Empowerment is the next aspect of recognizing the power of your thoughts. Take a survivor mentality and, kind of what we were just talking about. When unfortunate things happen or things that you don't like happen, that's okay. It's going to happen. It's impossible to go through life without having some hiccups here and there. However, an empowerment mentality, an optimistic, radically accepting, empowered person focuses on what is working in this situation and gets rid of the things that aren't working. If you keep doing the same thing and you keep getting the wrong results, then you quit doing it. Guess what? And they focus on what is working and what they can control in that situation, recognizing what they could possibly gain, trying to view it as a learning experience or a learning opportunity. Welcome competition as a catalyst to work harder and build more. It's not a zero-sum game. In a zero-sum game, you're always going to have a winner and a loser. That's not what we're looking for in an abundance mentality. In an abundance mentality, you're seeing competition as a catalyst to motivate you, to be more creative, to do more, to get more energized. And guess what? If you don't, quote, win at whatever the competition is, that's okay. You learned something about yourself and you grew probably exponentially as a result of that increased competition. Competition stimulates us a little bit. It's what we do with it. If we don't win, that is the problem. We want to view every experience as a win in some way. Competition can be a catalyst. You see, you're both applying for a job. Two people, same company, applying for a job. One person gets it, the other person doesn't. All right. So that's an opportunity to learn about yourself. What is it that made that person a better candidate than me? Doesn't mean you necessarily want to take on those characteristics. Maybe you look at it and go, yeah, they can have all of that over there. It probably was a bad fit anyway. Or you can kind of try to shadow them and learn from them to develop skills that maybe they have that you don't have as strongly yet. Competition can be a catalyst. Be proactive. Set goals, learn, and cultivate and share your passions. There are lots of things that you can be passionate about. I am passionate about neuroscience. I am passionate about helping people live a happier, healthier life. I am passionate about animal rescue. And I'm passionate about organic gardening and homesteading. So I have a lot of passions out there. I don't just have one. I don't have all my proverbial eggs in one basket. And those things give me opportunities to thrive. They give me opportunities to learn and keep my mind going and to stimulate my creativity and even think about how can I merge these things? Going back to ecotherapy, and there is a lot of research out there indicating that, working outside, working on a farm, for example, can be therapeutic. We know animal therapy can be therapeutic. So, it's possible to combine some of my passions and create something that's even bigger. Thinking about those is important. Envisioning the possibilities, not getting stuck in a box going, oh, well, I can't do that. I can't start my own 501c3. That's a negative mentality. That's a scarcity mentality. In an abundance mentality, the word is I can. Whether you choose to or not, that's a different story. But I can. My power is limitless. Develop mastery experiences through successful small goal setting. If you have this goal to start your own 501c3, or, well, we'll just stick with that. Okay, that's great, but that is a huge undertaking. So just like anything else with treatment planning or any other goals, that's your big goal. Then figure out, break it down from step one. What's the first thing you need to do in order to get to that point? If you decide, maybe there's 25 things that you need to do and you do one every week. Well, then in 25 weeks, you'll have achieved your mastery experience. If you just have that one big goal out there, it can feel overwhelming and you may not know or be able to discern which way to go. So it's always important to chart out those mastery experiences. If you want to improve at something, maybe you play the piano and you're passionate about it and you want to improve and be a better piano player so you can play in your church choir. Great. Set a mastery experience. Try to improve 1% every day. If you do that, then at the end of a year, you're going to be 365% better than you were. That's a mastery experience. Compassion and happiness is the next strategy. We want to focus on being compassionate with others, being happy for their successes. If we feel jealous or envious or angry about others' successes, we're coming from a scarcity mindset. And you need to ask yourself, why do I feel threatened? Why do I feel angry about that person's success? Am I angry about it? Am I unhappy because they succeeded and I didn't? And that's that scarcity mentality. You both succeeded. You may just be succeeding differently. And it's important to nurture that compassion for other people, because a compassionate person, somebody that's happy for other people when they have successes, tends to attract others who are happy for people when they have successes. And that starts attracting that abundant support system where everybody's happy for each other and you nurture and support and raise each other up. Be grateful and thankful. Just noticing what you have, not what you lack. Focus on what you have right now. What skills, what tools, what opportunities. You may be sitting there going, well, I am, such and such years old. It's too late for me to do anything, make a career change now or follow this dream. Who says? Being grateful for what you have. If you have your health right now and you have this dream, well, let's think about how to make that happen. Focusing on what you do have that can enable you to strive towards your dreams, which takes us to possibilities and opportunities. Think big. Think big. Whatever it is that you want to do, multiply it times 5. If you want to start a treatment center, okay, well, that sounds great. How many people are going to be there? Maybe it's a 16-bed treatment center. All right. Well, thinking big may be saying, well, let's think about starting a comprehensive farm-based treatment center that has 40 beds. That's big, all right. But encouraging yourself to think big. Maybe you don't start anything that's bigger than 16 beds, but you connect with 5 other people who are going to do the same thing and you create a network. Wow. So all of you can learn together and grow together as you open these treatment centers. So thinking big, you just have to be creative in how you do it. Believe there's plenty. Which a lot of times people, if you're starting a new business like a treatment center or a gym, you may be worried that there's not enough people if there's competition out there. But there's generally If you do your research, there's always plenty. You may have to locate slightly differently, or you may have to find a slightly different niche market, but there's plenty. And that's what's so important to remember. I mean, I see driving down the street here, I think every half a mile, there's another vet clinic, but they still seem to stay in business. They believe there's plenty. They believe that they have something unique to offer, and people will come to them. Enough people will come to them to keep their doors open. Embrace change. If you do what you've been doing, you're going to get what you've been getting. We say this a lot in recovery. Keep doing the same thing, you're going to keep getting the same thing. So if you want to grow, if you want to be abundant, if you want to multiply what you currently have, then you probably need to do something slightly different. If you're just, going along and getting along in a 1-for-1, you have something, you use it up, you get something, you use it up, that is not abundance. You want to get something and multiply it times 5. And then, use part of that and then multiply what's left times 5. And it's going to multiply exponentially. Look for the lesson. And this goes back to what we were talking about earlier. When we don't have the outcome that we really wanted, looking for the lesson. What can we learn? How can we grow from this? Instead of seeing it as a devastation, see it as an opportunity to learn, an opportunity to grow. Get organized so you can see what you do have. Have you ever lived with somebody who has a lot of tools, for example, and they don't have their tools all organized? Then every time they need something, they maybe run down to Home Depot to get it, and then they come back and they find out, oh, now I've got like 17 hammers. But if you're organized, you see what resources you have at your disposal. And it's not just about things. When you're organized, you can also see what people you have in your network, what people you have in your abundance system that can help you out, what resources, kind of esoterically you have. That can be your energy, that can be your enthusiasm, your knowledge. It can be things, it can be money, it can be people that are around you. Maybe you don't have a lot of money, but you are good at fundraising, or you're good at communicating your ideas and you believe you can get some angel investors. You don't always have to start with money. There are people that have money that want to share it to help you become abundant and to multiply their abundance. Create win-wins. And this kind of goes with some of the other things that we were talking about. It's more important to create a win-win situation, whether it's, you're talking about something with your kids, you try to solve it with a win-win. So both people walk away satisfied. Maybe not deliriously happy, but you both walk away satisfied and benefiting from the exchange. With your spouse, with your best friend, with your boss, always think win-win. How can I present this in a way that is helpful? I remember having to talk to some of my employees occasionally because some of them had a lot of difficulty getting their paperwork done, getting their progress notes in. And I don't like going in and having these, adversarial discussions with people. So I would go into their office and I would say, okay, how can we create a win-win here? I need you to get these notes done. It's just, they have to be done for the audit. What is it that I can do to help facilitate that so you can get your notes done and keep your job? And was it the ideal win-win? No, but I was going in, instead of walking in and saying, get them done or you're fired, I was saying, how can I help you? We have a problem. Let's figure out how we can work together to solve it. Associate with people who have an abundance mentality. You may even be able to go on meetup.com and find a meetup group that is centered around abundance mentality. I don't know if you can or not, but it's possible. You may be able to find groups like this on LinkedIn. I don't know, but it's possible. But surrounding yourself with people who focus and encourage one another to nurture that abundance mentality is really helpful. Those with an abundance mentality want to share with other people who want to create abundance, and you can work synergistically and exponentially together. Share. It's hard to feel like something is scarce when you're giving it away. And there's the old adage that what you give away usually comes back to you eventually anyway. So if you feel like money is scarce, consider sharing it. Sometimes it can be hard when that offering plate comes around at church, or when somebody comes up to you at the office and asks you to donate to this, that, or the other. But if you have the ability, consider sharing it, because if you feel like you can give, any amount, it can make you feel, more abundant. It helps you realize also sometimes that you do have more than other people. But it's not just about money. It's about time. It's about love. It's about creativity. Anything that you have, consider sharing it with others. How much better would this world be if we shared our time and our love and our creativity with other people? Just saying. Think like a beginner. Seek different perspectives and evolving knowledge. Even if you've been doing something, maybe you wrote the book on it, doesn't mean that something else hasn't happened since then. Doesn't mean that there are other perspectives. So it's in creating abundance, it's recognizing that pretty much nobody has all the answers, and there's almost always multiple perspectives. So thinking like a beginner, asking, what's your perspective on this? How do you see this? What would you do in this situation? Can give you a lot of insight and help you grow and nurture, because it gives you more tools. It helps you get outside of your own personal box. If somebody proposes this idea that's, way out here in left field, you might be like, oh, I never would have thought of that. Well, great. So now you have another strategy, another perspective to add to how you're thinking about things that may give you a new way to solve a problem or a new way to multiply. Synergize your unique strengths through collaboration, not competition. Look around at your friends, at your family, and even, thinking about making holiday dinner. Synergize your unique strengths. Maybe you're not great at making a turkey, but somebody else is. Maybe you're not great at cooking, period, but you're more than happy to host it at your house. There are a lot of different ways that you can combine your strengths, abilities, and resources with others to create something that's magnificent. Make sure there's balance in all things important, though. Remember, I talked earlier about how I'm passionate about mental health and neuroscience. Well, that's great. But I'm also passionate about my kids, about my animals, about animal rescue. There's lots of stuff I'm passionate about. I'm a little bit scattered sometimes. But I think that's wonderful that there are so many things that I'm blessed with that I have the ability to spend time on. And it's important not to focus only on one thing and let everything else kind of wither away. Meditate, reflect, or use guided imagery each day to prime your mind. And one of the ways you can do that is by going through this list, or I'll give you a daily meditation suggestion at the end of this presentation that talks about, thinking about before you even start your day. How am I going to make this day abundant? How am I going to attract abundance? And how am I going to share abundance with others? The meditation itself can be great, but if you have something specific, like you're going for a job interview or you're presenting at a big meeting or something, envisioning how that's going to go and envisioning them welcoming you and celebrating whatever you have to say is part of that abundance mentality, and it primes your brain to expect the positive. If we don't, as in our culture, a lot of times we're primed to expect the worst. It's important to start trying to train your brain to expect abundance, to expect the best, because then you're going to go in and you're going to feel less anxious. You're going to feel more excited, and you're going to be more enthusiastic and energetic. And that is noticeable by people. We've all been to presentations and interviews and different dates, whatever, where you could tell the person just really wasn't into it. And they were like, okay, I'm here. I'm expecting this to go badly. So let me just do what I got to do and get out. All right. That's not real inspiring. Enthusiasm is inspiring. Consider unplugging. When you scroll through media and social feeds, and they are just cluttered with advertisements and things now, not only are you seeing all the things that you don't have, because people generally post their highlights, not their problems on social media. So you're seeing everybody having this great time and having this and having that. All right. And you're also seeing advertisers trying to sell you things that they're telling you you don't have and you must have. So it encourages that scarcity mentality, focusing on what you don't have instead of what you do. So consider unplugging, or at least limiting your time online in order to focus on nurturing your passions, learning, growing, and just being mindful, recognizing what you have. Cognitive restructuring. This is the next to last one. Identify your fears that come from a scarcity mentality and respond to them from an abundance mentality. When you start feeling stressed, anxious, angry, frustrated, any of those dysphoric emotions, ask yourself, where is this threat coming from? And in what way can I transform this thought into an abundance mentality, from a loss into a lesson? Which takes us finally to semantics. Choosing your words. In an abundance mentality, costs become investments. So you're getting ready to go to college, for example. That's expensive. And from a scarcity mentality, you're thinking about how it's going to drain your bank account. From an abundance mentality, you're thinking how this money you're spending is you're going to be able to, make it exponential when you graduate. You're thinking of it as an investment as opposed to a cost. It's going to add value in the long run instead of detracting. Failure becomes a learning opportunity. Incremental becomes exponential. Remember what we talked about? If you can just improve 1% every day, then at the end of the year, you've improved 365%. So instead of focusing on the fact that you only lost a quarter of a pound, or you only got a 3% raise, focus on how that adds up over time in order to build abundance. Changes become transformations. A lot of us don't like change. We like what we have because we can expect it and it's not stressful. When you see changes as transformations, think of butterflies. They go from being a caterpillar to, this beautiful creature. Thinking of changes that occur in your life, in your situation, as, that's the caterpillar. How am I going to turn this into a butterfly? Problems become opportunities to learn, to, change, to grow. Clients and customers can become multipliers or part of your network. The same thing is true for friends and employees. They become synergizers. People that instead of becoming people that you give to. It's give and give and give. You want to make sure that it becomes a network, that it's a give and take, that it is a synergizing relationship. And that is so important to weave into that network. Products, services, abilities that you have, things that you can give, become your value creation. So what is it that I have? What talents or things can I make, or things that I have do I have that is going to add value to the world and that's going to help me create abundance in my life? Security both gives and becomes opportunity. As I said before, you need to start from a place of safety. You have that secure home base and that secure place, that comfort zone that you're in. So that enables people to feel confident enough to consider stepping their toe out into that abundance zone, out of the rut and into the abundance. So security gives you the strength and the opportunity to change, and security becomes opportunity. When we have security, we can usually take some of those resources from our comfort zone and use them in order to multiply and become more abundant. Status I have becomes contribution that I can make. Instead of thinking, how can I get status so people look up to me? It becomes, how can I have the ability to make a bigger contribution? The more status you have, the more impact you have. So instead of seeing it as status, something that I have, think of it as something that I am able to do. I can make a bigger contribution. Maybe it's just in talents. It's not always about money. And management becomes leadership. The best managers are leaders. They seek out people who can help them achieve the mission of the organization. They seek out people that can help them be prosperous and abundant in whatever they do. And even in behavioral health, you want to seek out people who share the same vision of what we can do, what kind of quality of life people can have. And maybe everybody has different talents, but you can synergize those talents. I remember on my team, I had one person, he was an amazing trauma therapist. He was the go-to person for trauma therapy. And then I had another person that was great at spiritual-based counseling, and another person that was great at psychoeducational groups. And, everybody had different talents that I was able to weave together to create a really comprehensive program that was able to help our department really thrive. So instead of seeing your employees as pawns that you're moving around, see them as people who are joining with you to achieve that ultimate goal that you all are theoretically working towards together. Abundance affirmations can include, I'm loving and lovable. I'm grateful for. I deserve to be happy. Mistakes and failures are opportunities to grow and flourish. I choose faith over fear. Each moment brings new opportunities. I'm successful because I know what I want and I ask for it. My prosperity in health, love, and money is only limited by my own thoughts and behaviors. And there are hundreds of other affirmations out there, but these were just a few of them. I encourage you, if you don't want to go through all 25 behaviors every day, make an abundance mindfulness sheet that you look at in the morning and in the evening. In this sheet, visualize your big goals. What is your big goal for life, for the moment, for what's going on? What are the steps you're taking today to move toward your goals, and with whom can you synergize to exceed expectations? That's another phrase in an abundance mentality. You never want to meet expectations. You want to exceed expectations. What opportunities do I expect to have, and how can I grow from them? And opportunities include challenges, but they are opportunities to grow. What is going right today, and what am I grateful for? So those are just a few different ways. Abundance mindsets take a lot of work, but you can see, hopefully, just through this presentation, how altering your thinking styles and about the things that you think about every day can help reduce stress and encourage optimism and enthusiasm and really stimulate some of those creative juices and attract more positivity and abundance into your life. Are there questions? I really loved putting this presentation together, and I would encourage you, if you've got a particular goal or issue going on in your life, just sit down with these strategies and try to figure out, how to see whatever that situation is through an abundance mindset. It's a great activity that you can do prior to the beginning of the new year. Alrighty, everybody. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I will see you tomorrow at 9:30.